But both teams kind of going the other way in 2022, one in a more extreme fashion than others. Now, look, Cincinnati has kind of settled things of late relative to the awful start that they've been on.
Yes.
But I think people in the game, whether it's Cincinnati or Pittsburgh in that division as well, they forget about the history with those two franchises, the proud and rich history of those franchises. So why don't you remind the people at home, the kids?
Okay, thank you, Nelly. I think about, and it actually goes back to even conversations with my own son, who's a big baseball fan. But you refer to franchises that have been in the doldrums, if you will, years ago, talking about the Orioles being a heralded franchise. But this one right here, Nelly, I mean, certainly I go back to my youth. I mean, you talk about the Big Red Machine in the 70s. They've got 5 world championships. I mean, yes, a couple of them you have to go back, way back to 1919, 1940. Original franchise of the original National League. 1990, beating the swinging A's of their 5 world championship in 1990. And then, you know, through the years in the late 90s and 2000s with Dusty Baker, there was a lot of winning and a lot of really good baseball. And the benchmark, I mean, no pun intended, but Johnny Bench and certainly Pete Rose and Cesar Geronimo and Davey Concepcion and on and on. And then as you look at a franchise where they are now, I always think of who are they, what are they, and where are they going?
Right.
So obviously where they're going with respect to kind of the sell-off, if you will. Looking into how they've done, and I actually went back to like 13 or 14. It seems like it's been that long. But you know, Nelly, if they had the playoff structure the way it is this year, last year they were 83 and 79. I mean, had a double take, they would be a playoff team. So if you look at this list right here, it does not look encouraging. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
I mean, it's either through trade.
That's depressing. That's straight up depressing as a Cincinnati Reds fan. Because not only is that a ton of talent, that's a ton of personality, likable dudes who are no longer able to root for. So I think that's another tough thing to a tough hurdle for a fan. But anyway, continue.
So as a result of this, you have clubs that either spend, cover up for a lot of mistakes, either in the draft or player development, or actual free agent signings, or like the Reds, there's a let's rebuild, and this is where they are. And with that, you then say, okay, here they make this effort to, okay, let's see what we can get in some trades, bring in some young talent. How are we going to develop? Who's going to develop? And then becomes when I look at I was looking at the last 4 or 5 of their games in box scores. I said, well, which of the guys in the lineups tonight and yesterday and last week that could potentially be your pillars, your core 4, whoever. And then that's how you then look at your card and your list and your 40-man roster and your minor leagues as a whole to say, where do we build around? I mean, is it Aquino? Where are we gonna go with guys that we say, okay, is Senzel the guy? Tyler Stevenson, a #1 draft pick out of high school in 2015. Kyle Farmer, is he a guy? Tyler Naquin. Who in the group do we say in the next 3 years of the guys that are in the lineup right now, of these guys, Hunter Greene, of course. Jonathan India, he blew out his hammy. I mean, reigning National League Rookie of the Year. So you'd like to think that either all of them or many of these guys will be part of when the next moment in which they can infuse either some free agent signing or as a result of building up your minor leagues to then go trade for the whomever. And that's where they are.
Of course, we know that it's cyclical, right? These franchises go through cycles of good and then cycles of bad, and then you try to minimize those peaks and valleys and stay competing. But they also say the most dangerous place to be as an organization is in the middle, right? And you don't want to be mired in mediocrity, so you have to choose what our route is. And some tough decisions have been made. And you look at the past couple years where they were in this competitive window with a lot of talent that has since been subtracted.
Yep.
But it was like the pitching was good, but the offense wasn't there. The offense was getting rolling, but the pitching wasn't there.
Yes.
And they never really got a chance to be on the same page. And I think that's what a lot of Cincinnati Reds fans have had a tough time with this downturn. Now, you said, who are your 4 pillars? The 4 names that I wrote down first are India, Greene, Lodolo, and Stevenson. David Bell told me earlier in the year that this group, it's full of a lot of guys where this is like a make-or-break year for the Cincinnati Reds. A lot of players who they've been platoon guys, part-timers, they've been hurt. This is their chance to prove who they are. He likes that mix moving forward because then you're really going to get a high level of compete about compete from guys.
Yes. And I don't know how you feel about it. And I'm trying to, bring back the 70s and the glory years, and 1990 was their last World Championship, is to really accentuate and let people realize outside of Cincinnati that this is a great baseball town. And there's a lot of really
Opening
great
day
baseball
is a holiday there.
As I look behind you with Roberto Clemente and Pittsburgh and one of our montages back here, another one, right? And the Baltimore Orioles are showing. So to further this, who in their roster that we can now have fun come trade deadline, that who are these guys are going to be potentially traded? I know the Joey Votto, he's got a no trade, so he's not going anywhere. I mean, it's pretty clear that we've known of that or seen that. Tommy Pham, I mean, that's a pickup. Will he go somewhere? Moustakas, will he go somewhere? I don't know. Maybe.
Drury had a nice start.
Brandon Drury's had a nice start, 7 home runs. This is the Mac Daddy here. Yeah. If he could show scouts in baseball that his shoulder's fine and the velocity gets a little bit of an uptick, you talk about getting a nice load of prospects, that would rival more than what they got from Jesse Winker, I think, and then Eugenio Suarez with Seattle. This is kind of just a group where you say, okay, if these guys show something to other teams, Tyler Mahle, there's some rumor with some clubs, already.
Yeah.
Forget about July, that teams that need pitching.
Yeah.
So he's another one. That's the mix of where you eventually don't have to say it's not 3, 4, 5, 6 years, that you can infuse better, younger players to then insert to a franchise and organization that's ready to win.